Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, my name is Gifari. Welcome back again. It's me reading Alice in the Wonderland. And right now, we are on chapter 8, chapter 7, a Mad Tea Party. So, let's get started. There was a table set out under the tree in front of the house, and the much hair and Heather were having tea at it, and their muscles were sitting between them, fast asleep, and others who were using it as a cushion, resting their resting their elbows on it and taking over its head. Very uncomfortable for Dormouse, thought Alice. Only as asleep, suppose. The table was a large one, but the three are crowded together at the corner of it. No room, no room. They cried out, and they saw Alice coming. Room, said Alice in, indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. Have some wine, the man's heart said in an encouraging tone. Alice looked all around the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked. Uh, there isn't any, said the much hair. There wasn't very civil of you over it, said Alice angrily. It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said the much hair. I didn't know it was your table, said Alice. It's late for a great many more than three. Your hair wants cutting, said the hatter. He had been looking at Alice for some time with great curiosity, and this was his first speech. You should learn not to make personal remarks, Alice said with some severity. It's very rude. The hatter opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, "Why is a raven like white writing desk? Come, we shall have some fun now," thought Alice. I'm glad they began asking cuddling riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. "The minute you think you can find out the answer to it," said the Mudge Hare. "Exactly so," said Alice. "That you should say that you mean," the Mudge Hare went on. "I do," Alice hastily replied. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know." "Not the same thing a bit," said Hatter. "Well, you might just as well said that said I ate. It's the same thing as I ate what I see." "You might just as well say," added the Mudge Hare, "that I get is the same thing as I get what I like." "You might just as well say," added Dormouse, who seemed to be talking in his sleep, "that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe." "It is the same thing with you," said the Hatter, and the whole conversation dropped, and the party sat silent for a minute while Alice thought over all they could remember about raffles and writing desks, which wasn't much. The Hatter was the first to break the silence. "What day of the month is it?" he said, turning to Alice. He had taken his watch out of his pocket and looking uneasily, shaking it very now and very holding in his ear. Alice considered a little and said, "The fourth." "2 days wrong," said the hatter. "I thought you butter wouldn't shoot the works," he added, looking angrily at the Mudge Hare. "It was the best butter," the Mudge Hare quickly replied. "Yes, but some crumbs must have got in as well." The hatter "Crumbs you shouldn't have put in the bread knife." The Mudge Hare took the watch and looked at the crummy. Then he dipped into a cup of tea and looked at it again. But he could thinking He could think of nothing better to say than his first remark. It was the best Barry, you know. Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. What a fun watch, she remarked. It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell a clock what o'clock it is. Why should it matter? The hatter does your watch tell you what year it is? Of course not, Alice replied very readily. But that's because it says the same year for such a long time together. Which just the case with mine, said the hatter. Alice felt dreadfully puzzled that her hatter remark seemed to her to have not short meaning in it. And yet it was certainly English. I don't quite understand you, she said, as politely as she could. The dormouse asleep again, said the hatter and pulled off electricity to his nose. The dormouse shook his head impatiently and said without opening its eyes, of course, just what I was going to remark myself. Have you guessed the riddle yet? The hatter said, turning to Alice again. No, I give it up. Alice replied, what the answer? I haven't the slightest clue, said the hatter. Nor I, said the Mouse Hare. Alice sighed widely. I think you might do something better in the times, she said. The wasting asking riddles that have no answer. If you knew time as well as I do, said Hatter, you wouldn't talk of wasting it. It's him. I don't know what you mean, said Alice. Of course you don't, the Hatter said, tossing his head confidently. I dare say you never even spoke to time. Perhaps not, Alice cautiously replied, but I know I have to beat time when I learn music. Ah, that accounts for it, said the hatter. You won't stand beating. Now if you only kept on good terms with him, it almost anything like with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock and morning, it's time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper it to hint the time and run across the clock on the twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. It was the mud's hair and to itself and whispered. That would be grand, certainly, said Alice thoughtfully. But then I should be angry for it, you know. Not at first, perhaps, said the hatter, but you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you like. Is that the way you manage? Alice asked. The hatter shook his head mournfully. Not I, he replied. We quarreled last March, just before he went mad, you know, pointing with his teaspoon and March's hair. It was at a great concert given by Queens of Hearts, and I had to sing, you know, and the song perhaps. I heard something like it, said Alice. It goes, you know, the happens continue in this way. Here, the mouse shook itself and began singing in sleep, twinkle, 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 and the so long when it had to finish it to stop. While Harry finished the first verse, "Oh, dreadful savage!" exclaimed Alice, and ever since that, the hatter went in a mournful tone. "He won't do a thing I ask." At almost 6 o'clock now, a bright idea came into Alice's head. Is that the reason so many of these things are put out here? She asked. Yes, that is, said the hatter with a sigh. It's always tea time, and we have no time to watch the things within walls. Then you keep moving around, I suppose. It's exactly so, said the hatter as the things get used up. But when she came to the beginning again, I just went to ask, suppose we change the subject. March here interrupted, yawning. I'm getting tired of this. I thought the young lady tell us a story. I'm afraid I don't know one, said Alice, rather alarmed at the proposal. And no one said the both cried, wake up, Lumos, and they pinched it on both sides at once. The Domo slowly opened his eyes. I wasn't asleep, he said, a hoarse, screaming voice. I heard every word you fellows were saying, tell us a story, said the mud. Say yes, please do. Here's Alex, and quick about it, added the hatter, or you'll be asleep again before it's done. Once upon a time there was a three little sister, Ramos began in a good hurry, and then it was Elsie, Lacey, and Tilly, and they lived in the bottom of the well. What did you live on? Said Alice. Who always took a great interest question, eating and drinking. They lived in the tricycle, said Ramos. After thinking a minute or two, they have done that, Alice gently remarked. They've been ill. So they were, said the Ramos, very ill. Alice said a little fancy to herself what such extraordinary ways of living would be like, but it puzzled her too much, so she went on. But why did you live in the bottom of a well? Take some more tea. The March Hare said to Alice very earnestly. I've had nothing yet, Alice replied in an offended tone, so I can take more. You mean you can take less? Said the Hatter. It's very easy to take more than nothing. Nobody asks your opinion, said Alice. Who making personal remarks now? The Hatter asked triumphantly. Alice did not quite know what to say to this. So she helped herself to some tea and bread and butter, and then turned to the dormouse and repeated her question. Why did you live at the bottom of well? The dormouse again took a minute or two to think about it, and then said it was a tricycle well. There's no such a thing unless we beginning very angrily, but the Hatter remarked her when and I must remark if you can be safer, you'd be better finish the story of yourself. No, please go on, Alice said very humbly. I will interrupt again. I dare say there's no maybe one. One indeed, said the Ramos elegantly. However, he consented to go on. And so these three realists said they were learning to talk, what did they know? Said Alice, quite forget to promise. Cracker, said Ramos, considering all this time. I want to clean up, interrupted Hatter. Let's move on and press on. He moved on a spoke, and the Dormouse followed him, and the master moved to the Dormouse place, and Alice rather unwillingly took a place in a march here. The Hatter was really. No, you asked me, said Alice, very much confused, I don't think. Then you shouldn't talk, said Hatter. This piece of rudeness was more than Alice could bear. She got up in great disgust and walked off on Dormouse fall asleep instantly. And neither the others took the last notice of her wake. She looked back once or twice, half hoping that they would call after her. The last time she saw them, they were trying to put the dormouse into the teapot. At any rate, I'll never go there again, said Alice as she picked her way through the wood. It's the stupidest tea party I've ever was in my life. Just as she said this, she noticed that one of the three had a door leading right into it. That's very curious, she thought, but everything curious today. I think I must be well go it at once. And it she went. Once more she found herself in a long hall and close a little glass table. Now I'll manage better this time, she said to herself, and began by taking the little garden key and unlocking the door that led into the garden. Then she went to work nibbling at the mushroom. She had kept piece of it in her pocket. Then she was about a foot high. Then she walked down the little passage, and then she found herself at last in the beautiful garden among the bright flowers bed and the cool fountains. Alright, maybe that's all about chapter 7, reading chapter 7. Thank you so much. We will see reading chapter 8 in Alice and the Wonderland. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.